Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tesla podcast. This is our third episode. And today we're going to talk about bacteria and especially specifically, three bacteria that we don't want to have in our body. And then when I said we don't want to have these three bacteria in our body, it's not because we don't need bacteria. I don't want you to take it wrong. We need bacteria. And they exist because they also have a function. They also have something that they do in our body. What happens when we have some bacteria like in excess that looks like too much? And what is going to happen with our body that it's out of our hands? So we have to go very, very careful with bacteria. And that's why we're going to talk about this today. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I am well. Hi, Patricia. I'm great.
I'm so happy that we're going to talk about this today, especially because, as many people know, Tesla Energy or Scalar Energy have a magnificent results or benefits regarding to bacteria. And that is already proof by many, many testimonials that we have and that around the world. But Tom, specifically today, there are three bacteria that you mentioned to me that they're one of the, let's say, main concerns about people when they ask for scalar energy to help with the health, the wellness.
Yes.
So let's talk about the first one.
Okay.
Let's talk about Borrelia burgdorferi. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce. Let's talk about this bacteria.
You're right. There's good bacteria, and we don't address good bacteria. Probiotic bacteria, good bacteria, we leave it alone. What do I mean by that? Well, these are scalar energy instruments, and the way I program these instruments is with photographs of a bacterium. So I'm holding in my hand a photograph of Borrelia burgdorferi. Now, this is the causative agent of Lyme disease, specifically in North America. This is a spirochete, a bacterium. So when I want to program the instrument behind me, I do so with photographs of pathogens. And in so doing, I can pinpoint a pathogen by way of a photograph while leaving the probiotic bacteria, the good bacteria alone. So everything I do, I program by way of photographs. Now, before I get into too deep here, these instruments work on an informational level. This is not a biological process. This is a new and upcoming protocol, if you will. It's groundbreaking research of mine. And by using photographs of microbes, I'm able to instruct this instrument behind me to identify the molecular integrity, to identify the molecular bonds of Borrelia burgdorferi, and then to disassemble, to bring to a state of chaos those molecular bonds. So I do that by placing this microbe, this photograph of Borrelia inside the instrument. Now, what does that mean? This instrument now is interpreting Borrelia burgdorferi, and it's sending energy into that force field, identifying that specific spirochete. Thereafter, in order to, if you will, download or impart that energy from Borrelia, the spirochete, into me, I take my photograph and I place it inside the instrument. My photograph likewise has a character or a signature on it. By placing my photograph side by side the spirochete, I'm receiving the energy, the information of the spirochete. I'm not receiving it biologically. So if I place my photograph side by side, Borrelia burgdorferi, then the two quantum fields, or by way of quantum entanglement, we're communicating the energy, the scalar energy signature of Borrelia to me as an individual. So this is an informational process in which we impart instructions. We download instructions from a microbe into my quantum field. Well, what is the upshot? What's the result of that? Once I have this, if you will, this intelligence, these instructions of Borrelia in my body, my quantum body now, it's not my biological body. Once I have those instructions, this instrument then will look for the presence of Borrelia burgdorferi inside my quantum body, inside my energetic body. And in so doing, it will bring to chaos or break apart those molecular bonds of the spirochete. So, what I'm describing is an informational process, it's not biological. These are scalar energy instruments, they're not electromagnetic instruments. And this is the new science in which people can bilocate to my laboratory. Right now, by virtue of my photograph, I can bilocate into my instrument. What do I mean by that? Well, I have a biological self. This is me, Tom. Obviously, this is my flesh and bones. And my photograph represents my quantum signature or my quantum bilocated version. So now there's two Toms. I've bilocated into the instrument. Now that's only possible by way of the scalar energy force field. So this is the new science where people can be in two places at once in the quantum field, in the scalar energy force field, by virtue of their photograph. These are the discoveries that I've made with my scalar energy instruments.
Is that maybe people that is watching this video right now is like wondering what that Borrelia means, what that bacteria will produce in our body, and so we are talking about one of the main issues right now, one of the main components that is related with the Lyme disease,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And
Borrelia is the burgdorferi is the number one cause, if you will, of Lyme disease in North America. So
exactly.
when I am working with this signature of Borrelia, I'm able, if you will, to identify the spirochete in my quantum field. Everything I do is by way of photographs. A photograph is a source of light. And I want to make this very clear. When I'm working with photographs, there's no mistake because there's no human interpretation. Now, after I work with people with Lyme disease, they tell me that they feel better. Some people have even gone as far as to say that they don't have any indication by way of laboratory tests, any indication of Lyme disease, of the specifically the spirochete, Borrelia burgdorferi. So that's a great indication that we've brought to a state of chaos this spirochete by way of these instruments.
Of course, and people when they experience Lyme disease, and if it's not someone who is watching this now and have Lyme disease, can write us and tell about their experience and also about the symptoms they have, because many of them experience chronic fatigue, chronic uh, nervous disorder, um, like a loss of memory. It's a very painful illness,
And it,
and for many of them, there is no hopeless. Many the medicine says that they can cure Lyme disease, and it's incredible how we can treat Lyme disease by energy, with Tesla energy, with scalar energy. And it's not like you're treating Lyme disease, you're treating the bacteria behind that is
yes,
provoking that.
correct.
And that is the way that happens with everything, pretty much. I mean, if you have a pain, because that pain is provoked by a bacteria or by a any other type of pathogenic component in your blood. So when we treat that, then the inflammation, the swelling is going to go away, and also the pain. It's all like a chain, it's like everything one after the other one. So Borrelia burgdorferi, that's the name. it's what is pretty much behind Lyme disease. So people that have Lyme disease, Tom, uh, what would you recommend? Just take the program dedicated to cleansing
Yes.
viruses.
I, I would strongly recommend that they simply sign up for a 15-day free session. Go to our website. We always have a 15-day free session on the website. Many people say after 15 days of Scalar Energy sessions, they feel better. So at the end of the day, I always want to prove my work, and that's why we give away 15 days of free sessions. I will say that the greater majority of people that we've worked with Lyme disease have told us within a month or so that they feel better. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they can explain exactly why they feel better, but by this type of process, the fact that we can obliterate or fragment, if you will, a bacterium such as Borrelia burgdorferi, that's a pretty good indication that we have control, we have a mandate over microbes. And in so doing, if we can achieve that with these scalar energy instruments and remove the underlying cause, well, people feel better. That's the
Well,
upshot.
awesome. So we talk about this bacteria. Let's move on with another of one of the other bacteria that are very present in many of the diseases, especially diseases that people have with like pharyngitis,
Mhm.
uh, those infections that they get on the throat, and that is also called streptococcus, right?
Yes.
Streptococcus mutans.
Yes.
Okay, so
I'm going to speak about this
you have
bacteria,
it there. Okay.
Streptococcus mutans. What is that? It's probably one of the chief driving agents, one of the chief causes, if you will, of gingivitis. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Gingivitis. And it can even be shown that if this will migrate from the oral cavity to the heart, this could cause inflammation of the heart. Well, let's just stick with what we've identified with Streptococcus mutans, with gingivitis, with gum disease. This bacterium lives off of us. Any microorganism needs a host. We're the host. In specific, many people with gum disease say that perhaps this is one of the contributing factors to gum disease. Now, again, it's a very straightforward method. Anytime I'm working with scalar energy, everything is always simple and easy. I take a photograph of Streptococcus mutans. This is a magnified photograph, and I place it inside the instrument. Now, the instrument is interpreting that bacterium. And in so doing, if I wanted to treat my quantum body, not my biological body, if I wanted to treat my quantum body with the energy of strep mutants, I would simply place my photograph side by side the bacterium. Now, many times when I work with this process, I call it the pathogenic cleanse. After I work with this process, I realize that my mouth is clean. I don't have a biofilm, or that my tongue no longer has a buildup of biofilm, if you will. So I call that the fresh and clean feeling, in which your mouth and your teeth will feel clean without a biofilm. They won't feel gritty. Why? In part because we've eradicated that bacterium, Streptococcus mutans. And I want to make this link also. Conventional science says that there's a link between the microbiome in our mouth, the pathogens in our mouth, and pathogens that contribute to heart disease. Because obviously, what's in your mouth could eventually, by way of your circulatory system, find its way to your heart. Well, in particular, Streptococcus mutans has been shown to cause heart infection. So, what's my point? Not only will we cleanse our body, our mouth, of this bacterium, and we'll have a fresh breath, we won't have the biofilm in our mouth, well, we're probably eradicating that same bacterium in our heart, contributing to proper heart function. So I've developed this process because I realize, and I'm very keen on the fact that pathogens wreck our health. Pathogens are disease causing. And I've developed this simple process, straightforward process, that's really a guaranteed process with light. When I work with light, light never makes a mistake. And these scalar light instruments will carry out the function that I ask of it. So if I ask a scalar light instrument, as I've demonstrated, to search for and bring to a state of chaos Streptococcus mutans, it will do that. Now that's only possible with the scalar energy instrument. This is not an electrical instrument. We're not using magnetism. We're using a different type of energy, scalar energy, to make this all possible.
It's incredible because and it's such a relief when you say that Tesla energy is an intelligent energy because this bacteria exists for a reason. And I remember when I met you, I asked you, are you going to erase all the bacteria from my body? Because I don't want that. Because, they also have a function that they have to be with the immune system. So when you say that this is an smart
Yes.
energy, means that it's only going to take away
Right.
what you don't need, right?
Right. So again, let me review.
To go to a balance.
Yes, thank you. When I place a photograph of Streptococcus mutans inside this instrument, the instrument is only going to target what I ask it to target. So if I can target a photograph by way of this instrument, then only what's on this photograph will be targeted and will be eradicated. So it's very simple. I simply work with pathogens, germs that cause disease. I don't work with probiotic bacteria. It's that simple. So I can pinpoint, I can target what I want to bring to a state of chaos. This photograph, matched up to my photograph, will allow me to bring Streptococcus mutans to a state of chaos. I actually break down the molecular bonds of strep mutants.
That's amazing, Tom. That's amazing. I also would like to talk about in this Tesla podcast because we're talking about these three bacteria. So there is another bacteria that I would like to talk about, which is the Staphylococcus.
Yes.
Uh, so can we go to the type of diseases or illnesses that this bacteria can provoke?
Yeah. Staph aureus is typically known as a bacterium that you can find anywhere. You can even find this in your kitchen. It's universal. And many people develop skin infection with Staph aureus. Many people have developed sometimes MRSA. This is the bacterium that's associated with MRSA, methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, meaning what? That this particular bacterium is now proving to be defensive against antibiotics. This bacterium, Staph aureus, is now proving to be resistant to certain types of antibiotics. And that's experienced by so many different pathogens. Well, how do we overcome that? When we're working with light, light is not impeded by anything. Scalar light does not recognize any variant of Staph aureus. Scalar light will not be impeded by any type of defense mechanism of this bacterium. When I place this photograph of Staph aureus inside the instrument will look at the molecular integrity, the molecular geometry of Staph aureus, and then bring to a state of chaos, break down, annihilate that geometry. What am I getting at? Once you negate the geometry of anything, you bring it to a state of chaos. There's no longer intelligence. There's no longer coherence. So this scalar energy instrument can look at Staph aureus, and we don't have to worry about its antibiotic resistance. No, we go to its life cycle. We go to the actual molecular and atomic bonds that hold together Staph aureus, and we bring to a state of chaos. We break down the molecular and atomic bonds that hold together Staph aureus. Now, again, in practice, I take my photograph, which is my quantum field. I never work with people. I only work with photographs. By placing my photograph side by side that energy of Staph aureus, the energy of Staphylococcus aureus enters into me, into my quantum field. It's not a chemical process. It's not a biological process. It's an informational process. Everything I do is non-physical. Now, on account of the fact that my work is non-physical, you cannot have an allergic reaction. You cannot have a detox. You cannot have a Herxheimer reaction. All of my work is non-physical, it's informational. And on account of that, with this non-physical energy, it's harmless, it's safe, it's easy, and it's always effective. So this is the new science of looking at disease patterns by way of energy. I don't look at disease biologically, I look at disease patterns by way of energetic signals. This is the new and promising science in which there is no negative consequence. You won't have a die off, you won't have an allergic reaction because I don't work with people and I don't work with chemicals.
Tom, you said that people won't have a biological reaction, or it's not a biological process. They don't have like a detox reaction or something.
Right.
But definitely, there are symptoms that they have previous to getting into the scarlet
Yes.
provoked by the staphylococcus. So, which are one of these main symptoms that people experience before going to scarlet to treat this bacteria?
Some people with staph, they'll have a redness or itchiness on their skin, or there's patches of on their skin. Some people say they have diarrhea, or they experience vomiting. In really acute cases, it will hurt your range of motion sometimes when you have the skin infection. And it's also been implicated in other types of, again, it can infect the heart muscle. Um, it's been shown to pass the blood-brain barrier sometimes. So it's something that we want to take into consideration when it gets to be to that pathogenic state, that this can cause disease. So what is really the upshot of my work? It's painless, non-physical instruction. I never work on the physical plane. I never work on the biological plane. I simply use a scalar energy instrument to instruct a germ, a microbe, to be reduced to a state of chaos. When you break down the molecular integrity of anything, Staph aureus will then disassemble or fragment it to say smaller proteins or smaller elements. So it's entirely safe and it's 100% effective because light, a scalar light instrument, always does what you ask it to do. Light is fundamental. These instruments follow the laws of science. And provided I can instruct these instruments appropriately, this instrument will always break down the molecular geometry of Staphylococcus aureus.
Tom, you mentioned once that the process that Scatterlight has during one session, having the picture of the molecular form and also the picture of the people, the person that is being treated. That whole process, like it will work in an hour, the process of breaking that molecular bonds. But after this, I mean, how long it's does people have to wait to see results on their body, on their bodies, and on their
Yeah,
the skin, or where are experienced with the illnesses?
good question. So everyone's different, but I would say within the first 2 to 3 days of working with this energy, people realize that their sinuses start to clear. Again, that their mouth, their oral hygiene improves. Many people say that they had arthritis because of inflammation. And if you can eradicate the bacteria in your joints or in your hands, many people say that they have a greater range of motion. And usually people recognize that within 2, 3, 4 days of the onset of the sessions. Everybody's different, so we'll leave it up to people to report. What I'm really want to emphasize is working with light, I can guarantee the operation of light. Okay, there's no human reasoning here. There's no room for human error. Energy, light does not make mistakes. These scalar light instruments are flawless. They do not make mistakes. This is what I like about my work. It's guaranteed, it's perfect energy, there's no side effects, there's no negative consequences. It should be proven that this will eventually enhance the world, the health of the world. My goal is to present this on a global scale.
And I am so happy to be part of this.
You are.
Thank you, Tom. One more question before we close. once people have experienced scalar energy and they feel much better and they can even prove with a PCR that they don't have the virus anymore. What happened later? What happened next? Does people do people really need to keep the treatment with scalar energy? What is your recommendation? And they can go back and forth. Is the virus going to come back if they are not taking scalar energy? How does that work?
From experience, everybody's different. What I would say, once we break down a virus or a bacterium, it ceases to exist. Now, reinfection is possible, and at a later date, if people don't feel well, then they simply come back and they re-register with us, and they'll treat themselves for a few months. After a few months of sessions, then they'll stop. So it's periodic with some people. People come back every 2 or 3 months for sessions. Once they feel better, they'll go off the sessions. We leave it entirely up to people.
Okay, awesome. Well, because in my case, when I received scalar energy for my herpes that I got in my lips. Uh, at the beginning, it was like going back and forth, and at a certain point, didn't come back anymore. So I guess this is part of the process, and also as a biotherapist, I know that you also have to do the work emotionally and be in balance and have a nice type of life, eat good food. I mean, there's always good things to do that we should know that they it will increase our wellness, no matter how. But definitely having a scalar light there, and the possibility to cleanse out all the viruses and bacteria that we don't really need, and that they are very also like dangerous for many uh, strong diseases like Lyme disease, like infections and heart problems. We don't want that, but we have scalar light, so that's awesome. Anything that you might like to say before we finish today?
I think it's really pertinent that people go to our website, sample, avail yourself of the free sessions. On our website, scalarlight.com, we always give away free sessions, 15 days of free sessions. And as a new science, we let the people prove this to themselves. No scientific body has ever reproduced my work. So, what is my point? Well, the people have to prove it to themselves. I can't provide any peer reviewed papers. I have no peers. There's nobody with this type of instrumentation. So, we'll let the people prove it. This is a grassroots movement, and we're going to allow the grassroots movement to prove how effective these sessions are.
Awesome. Well, Tom, thank you so much.
You, Patricia. A great job.
And yeah, for everyone that is watching this video, remember you can go to and take the free trial. Let us know how it goes, and see you in the next episode of Tesla Podcast. Bye bye.